Alright guys, I'll quickly go over my Leeroy charged Barbarian that contains of two different sets. I'll do a quick 55 run because that's what I do in all of my videos just to show the power. But this set can definitely go a lot further than that. And it's actually a lot of fun and you kind of have to think about what you're doing. So that's pretty awesome. Alright. Let's get this over it. Alright, as you can see, this is actually pretty decent. There's a lot of monsters, and as long as there are monsters enough, I pretty much get my charges refunded. So that's pretty nice. You want to try to keep up your Wrath of the Berserker form all the time, because you deal so much more damage whenever you get that. You see, now I actually changed from short dashes towards this guy because I wanted to hit more than two people. You get your charges refunded when you hit one person, but you get charges refunded due to the runes in the Furious Charge skill whenever you hit enough people. So you kind of just want to get one person or at least four, I would say. 3 can do in short dashes, but the more the merrier, I'd say. Also because of the things I'm using in the cube, it's definitely worth hitting several opponents at the same time for the additional damage. As you can see, I'm doing 55 fairly easy. I don't really have any trouble with my health or the time, so that's pretty nice. And if I get better density, I could probably do even better. So yeah, I think I've done a 55 in less than 5 minutes or something, I'm not sure, and I can probably do a lot more if I want to. Alright, you see here I actually ran out of charges because I'm not hitting enough opponents. But I'm still hitting more than one, so I don't get it refunded. It's actually pretty annoying whenever this happens. And you kind of want to try to lure in some additional opponents. Alright, now I'm just going to leave these guys because they are not standing close enough for me to actually get the charges refunded. So they are not worth the time it would take to kill them. It's very important that you actually keep both the Wrath of the Berserker form up and the Ancient, because you get so much increased damage by having both of those up at the same time. Now the reason I'm using the Boulder Toss ability is pretty much just so you can make sure to use all of your fury and get the reset for the Wrath of the Berserker, because you want it up all the time. I'm actually doing a pretty bad job of that right now, so that's pretty bad, but you can definitely do keep it up all the time if you remember to just throw down the boulders. As you see now, this time I actually got it right, so my cooldown was down before the ability actually got down. Alright, once again, annoying place for this to happen. So right now I'm just doing a bit longer charges instead to clean out. So this guy's the only one left now, and I can just charge him until he's dead. You do really well against single target opponents in this build, because you pretty much freeze them whenever you hit them, and that just makes them so easy to just nuke down with this. So it actually works really well against single target, but it also works really well against large groups because of the Wild Ward. Alright, I'll show you just how powerful this is against the Rift Guardian. I'll just reset the cooldown, there we go. Now, you see the Rift Guardian is pretty much standing still most of the time, and that's pretty much just because of the freezing ability. This also makes up for a lot of the damage negation, because the Rift Guardian can't really do anything against you. This guy has a lot of poison damage, of course, so he does have a bit of damage, but just a bit of life per fury is spent, and you can actually use your Boulder Toss to pretty much just regain all of the lost life you get. So that actually works out really well. Oh, well, I'll quickly just add a few to these. Alright, now it's time for me to go over the items we're using and the bonuses and all that. I'll quickly just go over the cube. I'm using the Ring of Royal Grandeur to make sure I can use both sets in combination. I'm using the Wild Warp, which pretty much makes my Furious Charge deal a lot more damage in large groups, because for every opponent I hit, it gets 55% damage increase. So in huge groups, you suddenly just deal amazing amounts of damage. I use Standoff, which is pretty cool. It makes your Furious Charge deal a lot more damage. You get 250% of your movement speed. And of course you have 25% from items and Paragon points. And then of course you get 20% whenever you use Wrath of the Berserker, and 15% when Battle Rage. So all in all, when I'm using all of it, I have a very high movement speed, which pretty much makes the Furious Charge deal more than double the damage, which is pretty awesome. Alright, the items I'm using the Boulder Breaker and the Immortal King's Tribal Binding. These two items are mandatory for the Immortal King set. The rest are actually pretty much just, you need 3 items of Raycore, and you need 2 additional items of the Immortal King to make sure you get the 6-piece bonus from the Immortal King and the 4-piece bonus from the Raycore. The rings I'm using is the Unity for the solo rifts, but you can definitely use, I'll show you, you can definitely use the Endless Walk if you're in groups, because it gives you 50% damage reduction whenever you are moving around, and you're moving around all the time with this build. So that pretty much works the same way, but takes up 2 slots instead. For the amulet, you should probably use something that makes you immune to one of the elements. I would say that's pretty decent, or a Hellfire amulet if you get a good one of those. You could definitely use their additional passive skill. I'm using Band of Might, which is pretty awesome. Whenever I cast Furious Charge, Ground Stomp, or Leap, I take 60% reduced damage for 8 seconds. That's a whole lot of damage reduction. And I pretty much use Furious Charge like once a second, so it's up all the time. Definitely a must-have ring. So yeah, I would say this one and the Unity if you're doing solo, and of course change out for Endless Walk if you're in groups, because the Unity doesn't work there. Alright, let's quickly go over the set bonuses. From the Immortal King, of course, the Call of the Ancients, these 3 guys, they last until they die, so they're pretty much up all the time, which helps for the 4-piece bonus. The cooldown, the cooldown for the Wrath of the Berserker and the Call of the Ancients are reduced by 3 seconds for every 10 fury you spend with an attack, which is why I'm actually using the Ancient Spear Boulder Toss. This one just tosses away every single piece of fury I have collected. So it just tears down these cooldowns so immensely. It's awesome. And for the last piece, the 6-piece bonus you get, when both of them are up, you get 250% increased damage, which makes your total damage 350%, which is a lot of damage, and you should definitely focus on keeping this up all of the time. Alright, for the Raycore, it's pretty much as I said in the run. You get 1 charge refunded every time you hit a single opponent, and you get the effect of every single rune and the Furious Charge deals 300% increased damage, so that's pretty awesome. Alright, let's quickly go over the skills I'm using. Oh, actually, I should remember to say that I'm using the Nemesis braces right now, but if you want to push higher, greater rifts, you should probably go for the Ancient Path and Defenders for the increased damage reduction. This one just makes the rifts a lot easier. When you get shitty rifts, you can pretty much just put these on and make sure whenever you find a pylon or something, you get a great boost. The skills I'm using is of course Boulder Toss in order to just spend all of my fury. I'm using Furious Charge. Now the rune is pretty much whatever you want it to be, because you get all of the effects due to the Raycore set. So just pick whatever you feel the most comfortable with, the element you want. But of course the Boulder Toss is physical, so I'm going with physical and just keeping the physical up. You want Wrath of the Berserker. I'm using Insanity because I don't really need the damage reduction, but if you feel like you need more damage reduction, you could go with Striding Giant. It's 50% damage increase or decrease depending on what you pick. Right now I'm using Warcry with Impurity because I like this one a lot, but if you want more damage instead, another possible alternative would be to use Sprint, with Marathon giving you 40% increased movement speed, which helps your standoff over here. The standoff, it'll help that actually increase the damage of the Furious Charge immensely. So that's definitely an option worth considering. Now I'm using Battle Rage with Ferocity due to the standoff, of course. 15% movement speed is good, and increased critical hit damage chance and critical and just overall damage is awesome. And of course, Call of the Ancients with Together as 150% damage reduction all the time. Makes you one tough son of a bitch. Now, because I'm playing on hardcore, I'm definitely using Nerves of Steel. It helps you take on an extra life. I'm using Relentless, Ruthless, and Rampage. These two are pretty much just damage increases, and then I use Relentless for the security. But you could definitely use Bloodthirst to help you get a lot more recovery whenever you use the Boulder Toss if you need that. But I already get full life whenever I use it, so I'm going with Relentless right now. Alright, I think I've gone over every single thing. Oh, I should remember the Paragon points. In utility, I take area damage first and then go on life on hit. I take resource cost reduction as a third, just because it deals a little more damage for the Ancient Spear, but your main damage is the Furious Charge, so it's really not that important. For the defense, it's just all resistance, armor, life, and life regeneration. It's pretty straightforward. In here, the first one I took was cooldown reduction to help you keep more control over your charges and, of course, help you with the Wrath of the Berserker. After that, I took critical hit chance and then critical hit damage. But these two depends on what you get the most damage from. It varies from what builds you have and what items. Now, of course, you want to make sure you get 25% movement speed, and the rest should just go into your strength, I would say. You could max out your maximum fury in order to make sure you get the cooldown lower and more recovery from that, but so far I've just put everything into strength. Alright, so that pretty much rounds it up. It's a very powerful build. It has a lot of defenses. If you're playing normal, you could just use, of course you need the Ring of Royal Grandeur, but instead of the other two that are defensive, you could go for the Bastion of Will set with the Restraint and Focus. It will help you deal a lot more damage, and you have a spender and you have a regenerative ability. So yeah, it would definitely work, make you deal a lot more damage, but I'm not sure it's actually worth it because you would lose too much toughness. So yeah, that's it, and I hope you liked this guide. Feel free to like, subscribe, and check out my Twitch channel. I play very often. And feel free to check out the guide on Diablo fans. It's pretty good. I have a lot of description in there. So tune in, and hopefully we'll see each other soon.